The phone trembled in Daniel Lane's grip as he pressed it against his ear, his breath coming in frantic gasps. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's voice was sharp, professional. She's not breathing. Daniel's voice cracked, thick with hysteria. My wife, please, send someone. I don't know what's happening. Sir, I need you to stay calm. Who's not breathing? Sophia, my wife, oh my God, I just found her like this. She's cold, she's not moving. Daniel's words stumbled over one another, his mind barely processing what his own lips were saying. The dispatcher's voice pressed on through the chaos. Is she responsive? Check for a pulse. Does she have any medical conditions? Daniel swallowed, his throat burning. He reached out with trembling fingers, pressing them against Sophia's wrist, then her neck. Nothing. Not even the faintest flutter of life. No, she's not sick. She was fine. Just send someone. Please. The dispatcher's voice remained steady. Stay on the line. Help is on the way. The distant wail of sirens pierced through the quiet suburban street, growing louder with each passing second. Red and blue lights flashed outside the house as the paramedics stormed through the front door. Male caller, found unresponsive female, one EMT muttered to the team as they rushed past Daniel, who stood frozen, his face blank with shock. In the bedroom, Sophia lay still, untouched by the chaos unfolding around her. Her skin was pale, eerily smooth. The bedsheets beneath her were unrumpled, almost as if she had simply fallen asleep and forgotten to wake up. One paramedic checked for vitals. Another gently tilted her head, searching for any signs of trauma. No forced entry, no blood, no bruising, one of them murmured. Daniel hovered at the doorway, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. His breath came in short, uneven bursts. She was fine, he whispered, as if saying it out loud would make it true. She was fine last night. But nothing in this room was fine. One paramedic glanced toward the nightstand. A delicate teacup sat beside Sophia's unmoving form, its contents only half finished. A small thing, a quiet thing, but somehow deeply wrong. Another paramedic turned to Daniel. Did she take anything? Medication? Sleeping pills? Daniel shook his head violently. No, she never. His voice broke off. The team moved efficiently, but there was hesitation in the air, a silent exchange of glances between them. No injuries, no struggle, no signs of overdose, and yet Sophia Lane was gone. Daniel let out a broken, ragged breath. His knees buckled beneath him. A medic reached out, steadying him before he collapsed completely. We need law enforcement on the scene, one of them said quietly. The flashing lights outside soon doubled as 2 patrol cars pulled up. Officers stepped out, assessing the scene with practiced eyes. Detective Mason Carter arrived last, his sharp gaze sweeping over the pristine house, the untouched furniture, the chilling absence of chaos. Too clean, too undisturbed. He entered the bedroom and took in the lack of forced entry, the untouched jewelry, the still warm tea. His eyes landed on Daniel, whose shock seemed genuine, but that meant nothing yet. Mr. Lane, Mason started, his voice measured, calm. You were the one who found her? Daniel nodded numbly. I came home, she wasn't moving, she was fine yesterday. Mason's gaze flicked toward the bed, the untouched food, the teacup. Something wasn't adding up. One of the officers checked the security system. Detective, there are missing gaps in the footage. Mason's expression remained unreadable. Any known visitors? Silence. Then Daniel's head jerked up suddenly. His voice was hoarse when he said it. My mother was here last night. Mason's attention snapped back to Daniel. Your mother? She was the last person to see her alive? Daniel nodded, his mouth opening slightly before snapping shut. She just came over for tea, he said after a pause. She stayed for a while. Then she left. Mason turned back toward the teacup, his mind fitting the pieces together. A perfectly healthy woman doesn't just stop breathing. Not like this. The room felt suffocatingly still, the kind of stillness that came before a storm. Daniel swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. You don't think... My mother would... He couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't even form the thought. Mason didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached for his radio. Get me an address on Evelyn Lane. As the radio crackled with response, Mason's eyes lingered on the half-empty teacup. Sophia was gone. But this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Laughter echoed through the crowded restaurant as Daniel reached across the table, fingers grazing Sophia's hand. Their friends watched with admiration, the perfect couple, deeply in love, effortlessly in sync. From the outside, their marriage appeared idyllic. A beautiful home, romantic getaways, whispered conversations late at night. But perfection was a fragile illusion, and beneath it, cracks had already begun to form. Evelyn Lane lurked in the shadows of their life, an unspoken force that neither of them dared acknowledge openly. Sophia noticed it in the way Daniel's shoulders tensed whenever his phone rang, his mother's name lighting up the screen. She felt it in the hesitations, the pauses before he answered, the way his voice softened whenever he spoke to her. Evelyn wasn't just his mother. She was something more, something heavier, something inescapable. From the moment Daniel's father passed, Evelyn had clung to her only son as if he were the last thread holding her to the world. Daniel had tried to fill the void, to be the comfort she needed. At first, it had seemed normal, a son caring for his grieving mother. But as time passed, Evelyn's grip tightened instead of loosening. It was in the little things, the constant phone calls, the guilt-laced sighs whenever he spent too much time away, the way she hovered at the edge of his life, inserting herself into his decisions, his choices, his marriage. And Daniel, raised to believe that family came first, never questioned it, never saw it for what it was. Sophia, however, saw everything. To Evelyn, Sophia was an intruder, a thief who had come into their world and stolen Daniel away. It didn't matter that Sophia loved him, that she wanted to be part of the family. Evelyn had already made up her mind. Nothing Sophia did was ever right. You don't cook the way he likes. Daniel never used to dress this way. It doesn't suit him. He used to call me every night. Now, I barely hear from him. Each comment was delivered with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, wrapped in the soft veneer of motherly concern. And Daniel, blind to the battle waging around him, never noticed the way Sophia's smile tightened in response. He believed it was just the natural tension between two women who loved him. Sophia, however, knew this was war. The first time the milk spoiled overnight, Sophia dismissed it as a fluke. The second time, she noticed that only her groceries seemed to turn bad before their expiration date. At dinner, Daniel frowned as he took a bite of his favorite dish. This tastes weird. Sophia's stomach twisted. She had followed the recipe exactly. Evelyn, seated across the table, tilted her head, feigning curiosity. Oh dear, maybe it's just an off-brand ingredient? Sophia caught the flicker of amusement in her expression, a silent taunt. Then there were the lost messages. Sophia would text Daniel, reminding him about dinner plans or errands, only for him to never receive them. At first, she assumed it was a network issue. Then, she checked his phone when he wasn't looking. Her messages had been deleted. And at every family gathering, Evelyn whispered to the relatives, carefully planting seeds of doubt. She doesn't let Daniel visit as much anymore. She's so distant. I don't know if she really fits into our family. It was never direct, never obvious, just small, careful cuts, one after another, designed to slowly bleed Sophia dry. Daniel walked into the house, shoulders heavy with exhaustion. He barely made it 2 steps before his phone buzzed. Evelyn. Sighing, he answered. Hey, Mom. Everything okay? Her voice, soft yet tinged with quiet sadness, wrapped around him like a chain. I was just sitting here alone, remembering when you used to call me every night. I guess things change once you get married. His grip on the phone tightened. Mom, you know I'm busy. It's not like I don't care. Of course, sweetheart. I just miss you, that's all. A pang of guilt stabbed through him. She had raised him alone. She had sacrificed everything. Later that night, as Sophia tried to explain how Evelyn was driving a wedge between them, he found himself snapping in defense. "She's just lonely, Soph. She doesn't mean anything by it." Sophia's expression darkened. "You don't see it, do you? She's manipulating you." Daniel turned away, exhaustion seeping into his bones. "Can we not do this tonight?" And just like that, Evelyn's quiet war claimed another small victory. Sophia knew something was wrong. Terribly, deeply wrong. It was in the way her stomach twisted whenever Evelyn was around, the inexplicable feeling that she was being watched. The way the air in the house felt different after Evelyn visited, as if it had been tainted by something unseen. She noticed how Daniel's reaction shifted, how his patience wore thinner with each passing day. And the tea. One evening, after a tense visit from Evelyn, Sophia took a sip of tea her mother-in-law had prepared. It tasted strange, metallic. Her vision blurred for a split second. A wave of dizziness passed over her. When she blinked, Evelyn was watching her. Expression unreadable. Sophia set the cup down. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. This wasn't just tension. This was something else, something darker. She tried to push the thought away, but the fear clung to her. It whispered at night when she lay awake. It curled around her bones, telling her the truth she already knew. Evelyn didn't just hate her. She wanted her gone. The room erupted in cheers as Daniel wrapped his arms around Sophia, lifting her off the ground in pure exhilaration. His face, flushed with excitement, was the only thing she wanted to remember about this moment. The way his eyes sparkled as he whispered, "We're having a baby." Laughter. Hugs. Congratulations. Everything was perfect, except for Evelyn. Her smile was forced, her hands clenching the arms of the chair just a little too tightly. The moment her son looked away, the mask cracked. "That's wonderful news," she finally murmured, her voice a little too soft. Sophia noticed. Evelyn's expression wasn't one of joy, it was resignation, fear. The realization settled heavy in Sophia's chest. This baby wasn't bringing them closer. It was pushing Evelyn out, and that meant, for the first time, Daniel might finally be slipping from her grasp. It started subtly. Little remarks, spoken as if in passing, but always with purpose. One evening, as Daniel fixed himself a drink, Evelyn sighed, smoothing the wrinkles in her skirt. "Pregnancy is a lot of responsibility. Are you sure Sophia is ready?" Daniel barely looked up. "Of course she is." Evelyn stirred her tea. "She barely takes care of herself. And soon she'll have a baby too?" He frowned, but said nothing. Days later, she found another angle. "You work all day, and she stays home. That's hardly fair. Do you really think she appreciates how much you do for her?" Daniel let out a tired breath. "She's pregnant, Mom. She needs rest." Evelyn smiled gently, sipping her tea. "Of course, sweetheart. I'm just saying, balance is important. You shouldn't have to do everything." He shook off the comments, but they lingered. Over time, they chipped away at him, turning into quiet doubts that hadn't existed before. Evelyn took her campaign beyond whispers in Daniel's ear. At a family gathering, she leaned toward her sister-in-law, voice barely above a whisper. "Sophia barely lets me see them anymore." Her cousin, eyes widening, responded, "Why? You're his mother." Evelyn gave a helpless shrug. "She controls everything. It's like she doesn't want me in their lives." Word spread quickly. By the time the night ended, the whispers had become facts. Daniel, overhearing snippets of conversation, turned to Sophia. "Did you tell Mom she can't visit?" She blinked. "What? No, she can come any time. She just never does." Evelyn, standing in the doorway, let out a quiet sigh. "I don't want to be a burden. If Sophia feels that way, I'd rather stay away." Sophia felt a rush of heat crawl up her neck. "That's not what I said." Daniel exhaled sharply, running a hand down his face. "I just don't understand why this keeps happening." Evelyn's eyes flickered with something unreadable. That was the point. Sophia began noticing small, unsettling things. The keys she swore she left on the table moved to the kitchen counter. The door she locked at night was sometimes slightly ajar in the morning. Then came the tea. One afternoon, after an unexpected visit from Evelyn, Sophia sat down with her usual chamomile. The first sip was off. Bitter, almost metallic. A wave of dizziness hit her moments later. She blinked against the sudden haze, gripping the edge of the counter. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Daniel walked in just as she steadied herself. "You okay?" She hesitated. "I think I need to lie down." She never mentioned the tea. Not yet. Daniel would only tell her she was imagining things. One night, the words finally spilled out. Sophia's voice was tight, restrained. "Your mother is doing this. She's turning you against me." Daniel stiffened. "That's ridiculous." Her eyes flashed. "Is it? She's been manipulating you for months. She wants me gone, Daniel. She doesn't want this baby." His jaw clenched. "She lost Dad. I'm all she has." Sophia's stomach twisted. "And what about me? What about our family?" A pause. Then he shook his head. "I can't do this right now." Sophia's hands trembled. "She's driving us apart, and you're letting her." Evelyn's words, whispered into Daniel's ear weeks before, came rushing back. "She's trying to isolate you, just like I warned you." And just like that, the seed she planted finally took root. Daniel turned his back. Sophia had lost him. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty space beside her. Her fingers traced the swell of her stomach. The life growing inside her deserved more than this. When Daniel walked in, she inhaled deeply. No more waiting, no more second chances. "It's her or me." He blinked. "What?" Her voice didn't waver. "I can't raise our child in this madness." Daniel's face darkened. "You're making me choose between you and my mother?" Sophia exhaled slowly. "No, Daniel. She made you choose. You just haven't realized it yet." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration simmering. "You don't understand. She's not doing this to hurt you." Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. "She's poisoning me, Daniel. And if you can't see that, then I can't stay." A thick silence hung between them. He didn't believe her. That was all she needed to know. The baby kicked inside her, a tiny reminder of what she had to protect. If Daniel wouldn't save her from Evelyn, she would have to save herself. The soft knock at the door sent a ripple of unease through Sophia. She wasn't expecting visitors, and at this hour no one ever came unannounced. Except Evelyn. A sharp exhale escaped her lips. She hesitated before unlocking the door. There stood Evelyn, poised as always, her expression unreadable. She clutched a thermos in one hand and a carefully wrapped tin in the other. "I thought I'd bring you some tea. It's chamomile, good for the nerves." Her voice was gentle, but something about the way she spoke made Sophia's stomach twist. Sophia considered shutting the door, but exhaustion weighed too heavily on her. Pregnancy had drained her energy, her defenses. Fighting Evelyn required strength, and tonight she had none left. "Fine. Come in." Evelyn stepped inside, gliding through the house like she belonged there. As they sat across from each other, silence filled the space between them, thick and unrelenting. Evelyn's hands were still, folded neatly in her lap, yet her eyes never left Sophia. Something was wrong. But Sophia was too tired to question it. Evelyn reached for the thermos, pouring 2 cups of steaming tea. "You need to take better care of yourself," she murmured, sliding a cup toward Sophia. "Growing a child is no easy thing." Sophia, weary of arguing, simply nodded. She lifted the cup to her lips and took a slow sip. The bitterness struck first. A sharp, metallic aftertaste coated her tongue. Her brow furrowed. Had Evelyn always made tea this strong? The warmth settled in her stomach, but instead of comfort, it brought something else, an unfamiliar heaviness. Her fingers trembled slightly as she set the cup down. Evelyn smiled. "It'll help you relax." Sophia nodded absently, but something was off. A sudden wave of dizziness hit, sending a shiver down her spine. The room tilted. The edges of her vision blurred. She clutched her stomach, her breath turning shallow. Evelyn watched. She didn't move, didn't ask if Sophia was okay, just watched. Sophia's heart pounded against her ribs. Something was terribly wrong. Her hands shook as she pushed the teacup away, but her limbs felt heavy, sluggish. What's in this? Her voice barely made it past her lips. Evelyn remained still, unmoved. Just tea, dear. Sophia tried to stand, but her knees buckled. Her fingers gripped the table's edge, struggling to find stability. She looked at Evelyn again, this time truly seeing her. The soft smile had disappeared. In its place was something far more chilling. Panic clawed at Sophia's chest, but her body refused to obey her mind's frantic screams. She needed to move, she needed to run, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. The realization hit like ice. This wasn't an accident. Evelyn had done this, and she was waiting for Sophia to fall. The world tilted violently as Sophia stumbled forward. She had to fight. Her breath came in short, frantic bursts. Her vision tunneled. She reached for Evelyn, but the older woman remained seated, her expression eerily calm. "Why?" Sophia gasped, gripping the table for balance. Evelyn stood then, slow and deliberate, as if she had all the time in the world. She leaned in, her lips hovering near Sophia's ear. "He was mine first." A spark of adrenaline shot through Sophia's veins. The haze dulled slightly as pure terror fueled her body. With every ounce of strength left, she lunged. Her nails raked across Evelyn's face, deep enough to draw blood. A sharp gasp escaped Evelyn as she stumbled back, clutching her cheek. Shock flickered across her features, quickly replaced by something darker. Sophia collapsed to the floor, chest heaving, fingers scraping desperately against the wood as she tried to crawl away. She needed to scream, to call for Daniel. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her body had betrayed her. The struggle ended almost as soon as it began. Sophia's arms twitched once, then stilled. Her breath, once ragged and uneven, slowed. Then silence. Evelyn stood above her, chest rising and falling as she wiped the blood from her cheek. She stared down at Sophia's motionless body, waiting. 1 second, 2, 3. Nothing. Evelyn let out a slow, measured breath. Carefully, methodically, she smoothed the wrinkles from her dress. She reached for the teacups, placing them back into the thermos bag. There could be no evidence. She turned to leave, stepping over Sophia's body as if she were nothing more than an inconvenience. At the doorway, she paused, glancing back one last time, still unmoving, still silent. Evelyn's lips pressed together in quiet satisfaction. Then she walked out to the door, closing it softly behind her. The only sound that remained was the faint clink of a teacup settling into the sink. Daniel stepped inside, dropping his keys onto the console table. The soft clink echoed louder than it should have. Something felt off. "Sophia?" His voice carried into the quiet, but no answer came. His brows knit together. She always called out when he got home, even if she was in the other room. He moved deeper into the house, his pulse quickening. The air carried an unsettling weight, like it had been holding its breath. His steps slowed as he reached the bedroom door. A prickle ran up his spine. The door was slightly ajar. The hair on his arms rose. "Sophia?" He tried again, but the only response was the low hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. A chill settled in his chest. Something was wrong. He pushed the door open and froze. She lay so still. Sophia's body rested on the bed, unnaturally pale, eerily serene. His breath caught. A sickening dread gripped him as he rushed forward, his hands trembling. "No, no, no, Sophia!" She didn't move. His fingers fumbled against her wrist, searching for warmth, for life, for anything. Nothing. A strangled sound escaped him. "Baby, wake up, please." He shook her, his desperation growing. Her skin was cool, far too cold. His vision blurred as he grabbed his phone, hands barely able to hit the right numbers. 911, what's your emergency?" His voice cracked. "My wife. She's not breathing. I need help." As he clutched Sophia's lifeless body, a crushing weight settled onto his chest. The love of his life was gone. Paramedics pushed past Daniel, moving with urgent efficiency. He stumbled back, unable to do anything but watch. One checked her pulse, another pressed a stethoscope to her chest. A slow shake of the head. "Time of death is unclear," one muttered to another. Daniel felt his knees give way. "No! She was fine. She was fine." The detective on scene, Mason Carter, scanned the room with sharp eyes. Nothing was out of place. No signs of a break-in. No struggle. His gaze landed on the half-empty cup of tea. Something flickered across his expression. He bent down, lifting it carefully with gloved hands. "Was she drinking this?" he asked. Daniel blinked. I think so." Mason exchanged looks with the forensic tech. "Bag it." As officers checked security footage, one of them frowned. "Detective, there's missing footage from last night." Mason's eyes darkened. This wasn't an accident. Evelyn sat across from the detectives, her expression smooth, almost too controlled. She folded her hands in her lap, a picture of motherly concern. "I don't understand why I'm here," she said, her voice steady. "I only went to see Sophia. We had tea and I left." Mason leaned forward, studying her. "She was found dead, Mrs. Lane, and she had sedatives in her system." Evelyn blinked, feigning surprise. "Sedatives? I don't know anything about that." Mason's lips pressed into a firm line. "You made the tea, correct?" She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, then nodded. "Yes, but I would never hurt her." The silence in the room was suffocating. The door opened. A second detective entered, holding a folder. He slid it across the table. "Toxicology report came back." Mason opened it. Read it. His jaw tightened. Sophia had an excessive amount of sedatives in her system. Enough to kill her. Evelyn's fingers twitched. Mason's gaze sharpened. "Tell me again, Mrs. Lane. Did you put anything in the tea?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Evelyn's composure wavered. Her breath quickened. Her fingers gripped the armrest of the chair, knuckles white. The walls were closing in. "Mrs. Lane!" Mason's voice cut through the room. "You drugged her. Why?" Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. For the first time she looked small, fragile. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she broke. "I just wanted her to rest." Mason remained still. "Rest?" Evelyn blinked rapidly, her breathing unsteady. "She was taking him away from me. My son, my Daniel. He never had time for me anymore. She ruined everything." A pause. Then a chilling exhale. I just needed her to disappear for a while." Mason let her words hang in the air, their weight suffocating. "Disappear?" His tone hardened. "She's dead, Evelyn." A shuddering breath left her lips. The truth had finally cracked through. Daniel sat in the observation room, frozen. His mother's confession ripped through him like a bullet. His ears rang, his stomach lurched. She killed her. The woman who had raised him, the person who had once been his safe place, his home. She murdered his wife. His fingers curled into fists. Grief collided with fury, twisting into something unrecognizable. His world had shattered into pieces, and he didn't know if it could ever be put back together. His mother had stolen the most precious thing from him, and he could never forgive her. Never. The courtroom held its breath. The only sound was the shuffling of papers and the faint creak of the judge's chair. Daniel sat motionless, hands clenched into fists, his gaze locked onto the woman who had once been his protector. "In the matter of the state versus Evelyn Lane, the jury finds the defendant guilty of second-degree murder." The words slammed into his chest. Beside him, murmurs rippled through the crowd, but he heard nothing. His mother, a murderer, the woman who had wiped his tears as a child, who had held his hand when his father passed, had now stolen something from him he could never replace. Justice had been served. But why did it feel so hollow? Evelyn didn't flinch. No tears, no remorse, just a quiet acceptance, as if she had convinced herself this was all worth it. Daniel's breath shuddered as the gavel came down. It was over, but the damage was permanent. The house felt like a mausoleum. Daniel stood in the doorway of what had once been their bedroom, his and Sophia's. Now it was just his. The emptiness stretched, swallowing the air. The bed remained untouched since the last morning she woke up beside him. Her scent, once comforting, had faded into something distant, something unreachable. He lowered himself onto the mattress, hands gripping the sheets. The life they had built, the laughter that once echoed in these walls, was gone. His wife, his unborn child, stolen, and he had let it happen. His fingers brushed against a framed ultrasound picture on the nightstand, the tiny flicker of life that had never been given a chance. A lump swelled in his throat. "I should have protected you." Sophia had begged him to listen, but he never did. Now he was left with ghosts. The memories played in his mind like a cruel, unrelenting film. Sophia's voice, tired, pleading. "She's trying to turn you against me." His own response, dismissive, frustrated. "You're imagining things." He had called her paranoid, had told her she was overreacting, but she was right all along. The night before she died, she had given him an ultimatum. "It's her or me." Daniel's breath hitched as the weight of those words settled. He had been so desperate to keep the peace, to please them both, that he ignored the war raging in front of him, and now the battle had claimed its final casualty. Daniel stood in front of the prison glass, staring at the woman who had given him life, and taken away the one he had chosen. Evelyn met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "I did it for you," she said softly. His jaw tightened. "You destroyed me." She tilted her head as if she still couldn't understand. Daniel pushed back his chair, standing. "You were the threat, Mom, and I never saw it." He walked away, leaving her behind bars, where she belonged. Sophia had been right. Sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the worst.